Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Welcome to the Goddard Report. Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Jordan Bateman, Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the Independent Contractors and Business Association in BC. His website, icba.ca. Welcome back to the show, Jordan.
Thanks for having me, Jim.
Jordan, are you worried about the BC provincial government putting in stringent new rules for government projects for who can take part in them?
We are very concerned. And just to be clear, this isn't just for government projects.
Not just
for
government.
Any construction.
Any
construction across the province that uses HVAC, which is your air conditioning, heating, ventilation system installers, and electricians. They will now be subject to what's called compulsory trades. And Jim, this is one of those classic government baffle-gab announcements where, they paint it in a way and everyone thinks to themselves, wow, more young people in the trades. Oh, this is a great way to get, really super qualified people in the trades. It's fantastic. We're going to solve the labor shortage thanks to these compulsory trades. That's what they'll claim. The problem is the evidence across 2 decades is that compulsory trades actually make things worse. Because what happens is you make the door to entry to the trade so narrow that hardly anyone can squeeze through. And we're very concerned, especially in a labor market that's already as tight as it is for construction in British Columbia.
So this is an artificially created labor shortage.
That is exactly what it is. And what that means is you'll end up paying more for labor, and that means all of the prices will go up for all construction. And, not just for the home builder. We talk about affordability a lot in British Columbia, usually in conjunction with housing. Housing costs will go up because it'll be harder to get labor. But also, taxes will go up because governments are huge purchasers of construction services. Every road, every hospital, every school, every pothole, all those things have to be built or maintained. All of those costs will go up too. We're very concerned about this because, first of all, government didn't bother to pick up the phone and actually ask us, ICBA, the single largest sponsor of trades apprentices in the province of British Columbia, open shop companies, 82% of all apprentices in BC sponsored by either us or members, people who are aligned in a workforce way with us. They never bothered to ask us what the actual problems were in getting more construction workers. We could have told them, invest in education, modernize curriculum, quit having only one school for certain trades that's only based in the Lower Mainland for the entire province. That's the way you get more people into construction, is just giving more opportunity for that education component, not by mandating it and trying to jam everyone into these already overstressed education programs.
So that's like saying everyone who owns a car now also has to have a pilot's license, even though it has nothing to do with driving a car, but they're just going to say you have to have one.
Well, exactly. It's just an artificial item that they put on. There's a huge enforcement regime. When this was last around in British Columbia in the 1990s, you actually had squads of people working for WorkSafe, or the predecessor to the Industry Training Authority. They would show up on construction sites and demand to see everyone's red seal numbers and apprenticeship numbers, and then they would match it and make sure the ratios work. It's very concerning. What government will do at some point here, once they bother to actually roll out the full regulations, hopefully after they actually consult with groups like ours, if we can't talk them out of it, they will create what's called ratios, and they'll say you need to have one journey person for every apprentice, which means one ticketed red seal electrician working with every one single apprentice. That sounds great, except that we don't have enough journey people as it is. We don't have enough training spaces for new apprentices, so you're actually constricting the whole thing altogether. CD Howe, the Institute, did a great study on this 7 or 8 years ago and kind of debunk this whole myth of compulsory trades, which NDP governments across the country just love and embrace. They found that if you have compulsory trades in your province, you actually get 44% fewer apprentices than you do if you have a more open, broader model.
So what's this going to do to all these projects people have been waiting to go? First of all, in BC, you have complained about the slow permitting process where it can take years to get a simple project approved and sometimes a decade to get something major done. What's this going to do to BC's construction schedule, and how is that going to affect the provincial economy?
Well, it's going to slow it down even further. You're right. Canada ranks 64th in the world when it comes to time it takes to process a construction permit. I would suggest British Columbia is even worse than that because we are easily one of the worst provinces for construction permit applications. And I would say Vancouver proper, is probably the worst of the worst. They can take months and months, even a year to approve various permits, even years. So what this will do, though, is it'll further slow down the process because trying to source that labor, especially on the journey person side, will be very, very difficult. And those folks are going to be in demand. That means higher wages in order to find them and to keep them, which sounds great in theory, except that all of those costs get passed along to the end user. And, at a time where the condo market's already reeling from lack of supplies, like actual physical steel and cement and those supplies. Now you're going to add on an even worse labor shortage. You're going to drive up affordability issues all over the province.
Do you feel the provincial government is unaware that there's already a labor shortage in the construction industry?
Oh, well, they're aware. I think, Les Lane in the Times Colonist on June 16th had a great column on this and basically talked about the NDP's ideology. This is how the NDP view the world. Compulsory trades is a big piece of that overall, pro-union kind of world they live in. What they don't realize is that since the 1990s, the world has changed. First of all, you've had an entire 2 generations almost of construction workers grow up without compulsory trades. They have no idea how it works or what it's going to mean, because we haven't had it here for 20 years. But, you also have a completely different generational makeup. So, Generation Z, along with younger millennials, they have a very different view of work than maybe some of the generations before them, in that they believe very firmly that if you are highly skilled at what you do, if you're the best at what you do, it shouldn't matter about seniority or age or, when you got hired. You should be paid and compensated and promoted based on merit. And this is great. This is the open shop construction model, and that's why open shop's been so successful. It went from about a 50-50 split with the unions in the 1990s to now where 85% of all work in British Columbia is done by open shop companies. And it's because they can get a hold of these folks and, promote the best ones, pay Gretzky the most money, pay your stars more than, you would pay underperformers. There's no rules as far as, just because you got hired a day before that guy, you get to bump him out of a job. No, you keep the skilled people, and you improve the ones who need some help. The model is working. The labor shortage currently in construction in British Columbia is no worse than any other industry. If you Google, industry labor shortage BC, you'll find before COVID, the hospitality industry, the tourism industry, the long-term care industry, everyone's dealing with aging demographics. It's not unique to construction. And yet, the NDP government come up with this very unique to construction kind of compulsory trades plan, hoping to reverse something that is actually a province-wide demographic issue.
We'll have more with Jordan Bateman right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Jordan Bateman. Jordan, we know lumber was in tight supply and the cost for that skyrocketed. Steel was in short supply. The costs there went up. But now people in the construction business have a new shortage to worry about. What is it?
It's paint. I can hardly believe it because you're right. We've talked about, steel, rebar, concrete. We've talked about copper prices. Lumber prices now are, have come down about 20% of their peak, but still more than twice what it was a year ago. But it's paint. Paint is now a major crisis. Trying to find enough paint for all of these projects. So what happened was, on top of COVID, on top of everything else, there was the terrible blackout and weird weather situation that happened in Texas. Apparently, that knocked out a number of plants, including a Dow Chemical plant. And that plant was responsible for something like half the paint in North America. So all of a sudden, you take half the supply out of the market. Our painting contractors are having troubles procuring supply of paint, products that they're maybe they're painting an entire condo building, so they've been purchasing a lot of this product as they went along, suddenly being discontinued simply because they don't have enough supplies to make it, the suppliers. So yeah, this is a critical shortage of a number of different construction supplies. It's driving up costs again. And Jim, I never thought I'd be sitting here talking to you about a paint shortage, but I guess here we are.
Well, yeah, people always say as boring as watching paint dry, but in this case, it wouldn't be boring if you had some paint to watch to dry.
You're exactly right. And, it's funny because some of these shortages are exacerbated by the toilet paper phenomenon. Remember the early days of COVID and everyone went out and bought extra toilet paper because for some reason it got around that this was a big commodity. So, but now no one can get enough paint to hoard it. So, it's a completely different kind of supply chain issue. It's, a genuine paint shortage. Places like Sherwin-Williams, very famous suppliers, steady as they go. Like, I don't think you and I would sit here and say, paint supplying, what a sexy industry with, prone to huge ups and downs and swings. No, it's pretty steady. And yet here it's on a major, cost issue, simply because they cannot get a hold of the petrochemicals they need.
And I can see, I know we're talking about paint for buildings and construction projects, but this could affect people like automotive repair or the car production industry, which is already slowed down because of a computer chip shortage. So that car that you expected, well, we can't paint it yet.
Yeah, good point. Great point. It'll affect residential folks. Like if you go into your local Home Depot to pick up paint to paint your kid's room, you can expect to, spend, maybe twice as much as you used to on paint. Like there's a ripple down effect here. It's pretty surprising. And, one of those things that I just don't think people really realize, I work in Metrotown. We have a view of probably 6 different condo towers that are in different phases of construction. Until you really sit and watch it, you do not realize the kind of supplies, the steel, the cement, the wood, the railings, like all the different things that go into a building. And we're seeing a situation where everything that goes into that building is becoming more expensive, and it's becoming more expensive. The people who are installing it or painting and doing all of that, all of a sudden we're in a huge affordability crisis. Exacerbated by government red tape and very slow turnaround. So we're hoping that paint comes down in price like lumber has a little bit, but it seems very unlikely that everything will come down to the prices it used to be even 2 years ago.
Is construction going to be hit by Vancouver's proposed constriction or just anti-big vehicle parking tax?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, look, fewer and fewer construction workers live in Vancouver proper as it is because the affordability issue has gotten so out of control. So you don't see as many work trucks around. But, those that are there will be paying more. There's the road pricing that they're considering. Imagine what that's going to do for bills for people who live in Vancouver. If you need if you're getting renovation work and a company is coming from Surrey or Chilliwack or Coquitlam, think about, or heck, even just, the other side of Clark Drive. Think about how much that's going to cost to get in. Again, it's one of these policies that, well-meaning, green-oriented folks think is, hunky-dory, but they have no idea the kind of social costs there is to it, the affordability issues, and the kind of message you're sending to the rest of us. I live in Langley. I don't understand why Vancouver makes it so difficult for me to go downtown and spend money. It's nonsensical to me.
You're doing a special survey in BC and Alberta about the economic futures of the two provinces. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, it really is a tale of two provinces. And, we surveyed about 650 British Columbians and 650 Albertans, asked them a series of questions. But one of the questions we asked was, how do you feel the Canadian economy will be doing a year from now? And by a wide margin, Alberta is much more pessimistic about where the economy is headed than British Columbians. About 51%, so more than half of British Columbians feel like the economy is on the right track. A year from now, they'll be doing better. About 22% say, no, it'll be worse. But it's still, plus 29, plus 30 points. Whereas in Alberta, only about 36% say that it's doing better, or going to do better a year from now. And about 31% say it's worse. So that's only a plus 5. It does show you there's a big concern in Alberta about where the Canadian economy is headed, how the Trudeau government is managing it, where COVID is leaving things. And then, of course, in Alberta, you have that extra layer of, oil and gas and investment fleeing the province. So, it's concerning to us in ICBA, who have members, mainly in British Columbia, but we, do support companies in Alberta. We certainly want better for Alberta than maybe what they're feeling is coming down the pipe.
Something that's interesting, Joe Biden, the first thing he did in office as U.S. president was cancel the XL Keystone pipeline. However, during his European meeting, he said he was fully in favor of Russia's oil and gas pipeline to Germany. Why do you think he favors the Russians over the Canadians?
That's a loaded question, Mr. Goddard.
Well, that's what I do.
It's a great point. I have no idea why America wouldn't want to be energy self-sufficient. With the help of Canada, I think most people, would view North America as kind of an economic unit, and why not be self-sufficient when it comes to energy? Look, Joe Biden pandered to a progressive wing of his party. Felt he needed to give them something as a victory. He chose Keystone Pipeline, much to the dismay of the governors along the route, of the thousands of construction workers, including unionized ones, by the way, who were laid off, and of course, Alberta taxpayers who are out more than $1 billion because of this. He gave this to his progressive wing of the party, the AOCs, that whole wing, and I think America has cut off their nose to spite their face, and I was very puzzled as to why he would be so supportive of a pipeline in Russia and not one in North America.
Jordan, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Thanks for having me.
My guest has been Jordan Bateman, Vice President of Communications and Marketing for the Independent Contractors and Business Association. His website, icba.ca. And by the way, Jordan, you're still looking for construction workers, right?
Yes, icba.ca/jobs. You can go and upload a resume there, and we'll match you with a company.
And if you have any questions for Jordan, you can send them to info@housestreet.com, and we'll pass them along for you. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. Find us on Twitter @TalkDigitalNet. We're also on Facebook. I'm Jim Goddard. Thank you for listening.
Comments made on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com are an expression of opinion only. The Goddard Report is available online and mobile at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. The Goddard Report is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.